What's up, everybody? Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here. And to all the truth seekers out there, hope you all have a good day today. It's your boy King Beef. What I was going to do today was I wanted to go over a couple different things, and one of them being just going over the news. So kind of live and just kind of stream it, and we'll see what we got for news today. And then I will address a Breonna Taylor getting a lump sum of money, or her family, I guess. And my thoughts on that. I put a post out with it. I have a huge issue with that. You know, I feel for her family. Losing a daughter, losing a child has got to be one of the worst things you could ever deal with. Horrible. But let's just go look at some news, see what's updating right now. Here we go. We'll go ahead and bring up some. Here we go. All right, let's drop down, make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Let's go ahead and we'll look up some CNN. All right. So let's look at the latest news, see if they're telling the truth today. Let's go through. This is what a climate crisis looks like. It's only the beginning. Dual disasters, fire in the West. Oh, man, they start with lies right off the break. So again, you guys saw me just bring this up. Fires in the West. Well, the fires in the West, just so people know, have to do with the fact that they have all this dead wood out there that they refuse to remove for purposes of environmentalism. Okay. Hurricane I in the South, on the opposite ends of the country, they may have one common factor. Let me guess. Global warming. Let's see something real quick. And again, you guys are going to see this in real time. This is why I wanted to do this. Let's just see how honest they're being. Let's just see hurricanes in the last 20 years. Okay. So first, I just want to kind of look at hurricanes in the last 20 years, timelines. Okay. No major hurricanes. What is that? Assume there's been some hurricanes. What are they talking about? In the last 25 years. Okay, that website sucks. Let me see. Because I've been in Georgia now, and I had one 3 years ago. But there hasn't been a bad one since then. I just don't think it's accurate to depict that every single time we have a hurricane that we want to jump down global warming. Let's see what it says here. Live corona pandemic. We'll get on that in a minute. But man, they're just live Hurricane Sally. How do you get a live corona pandemic? Hurricane Sally heads towards the Gulf Coast. A slow-moving Category 1 hurricane. Okay, look. You can't take every single scenario and go, this has got to be global warming. I'm not a global warming denier. I'm not sure how much it's hurting the earth or not. I just believe whatever the data tells me. So 2 disasters, which one of the disasters, the fire is really frustrating because the fire was largely propagated by the fact that you should have done organized burns. For anybody that knows forestry, that's how that works. You do organized burns, and that way it keeps all these were started by arsonists. Okay, there was an arsonist in Oregon. Somebody lit a couple different areas on fire. Another person, it shot off some fireworks for a gender reveal that sent Trevor Noah into cardiac arrest, being all nervous about how it's so messed up that we're not letting our kids pick their genders. And that is what started one of the fires as well. So these are man-started fires. And then because you're allowing dead trees to sit there, I mean, there's plenty of articles on that we can go through a different episode. If people say they want me to do that, I can do that, where lots of people are saying you're basically having all this kindling out there. It's just waiting to set blaze. Okay. Global warming doesn't magically happen more in California than it does in New York. Yet New York's not on fire, right? And there's trees in New York. So we have to look at more things than just, more things than just global warming. Hurricane Sally is a Category 1 hurricane. I'm going to be honest with you, that's not that big of a deal. So here we go. This is what I wanted to talk about. I saw this earlier today. Lawsuit is settled in the wrongful death suit. 6 months since Breonna Taylor died, and activists aren't letting the world forget. Well, what are they not letting the world forget? Okay, it's been 6 months. Look, we can show pictures, and I don't think Breonna Taylor's probably a bad person, right? I would lean to believe she's probably a really sweet person.
Family, the entire tragic story boils down to
let's hear.
Question: why were police breaking down her door in the middle of the night?
Because there was so much massive amounts of evidence that she was involved with a drug dealer doing things that were illegal. That she was a cog in the drug ring. That's why they kicked her door in that night. If they wouldn't have knocked, I believe she would have been alive. Certainly seems that way. But now we have no-knock warrants, even though they didn't knock at the other home and no one died. So knocking is not what caused the death here. Serving the warrant did, and there's lots of evidence as to why that warrant was done. It was done correctly.
They should have never been there in the first place.
No, they should have been. They had to be there because Breonna Taylor decided that she would rather deal with a drug dealer than do things the right way. She was willing to ball up. Ready? Here we go. This right here. Yep. You know what this is right here? This is her EMT career. Boop. Right in the trash. Because she was in love. Shorty was in love with a gangster. Okay? That's why. And it's sad because these two young women, are just brainwashed because they do care for her. And that sucks. Like, I think it's so disrespectful to even put them on to try to give them a voice of some kind of sympathy or empathy towards these people who are living a bad lifestyle that we should not be living. And then when it causes their death, they're just going to turn around and blame the police. Let's hear it.
It should have never happened.
A CNN analysis.
Okay, they just cut it off. It shouldn't have happened. Of course it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have happened. What should have happened was she should have said, you know what? I want to date Kenneth Walker. I'm going to go date Kenneth Walker. I'm done with you. Here's the money that you made. I'm done. I'm going to get my own job. Now, what I haven't heard from anybody, and if you want to make an argument towards the legality of drugs and this kind of stuff, is that what you could have done was say, hey, look, she lost her job because she was involved, but that was involved with a murder, okay, on some level, whether knowledgeable or not knowledgeable, that ended up getting her laid off. And now maybe she doesn't think she can make any money anymore anywhere else. But that's just you mess up and you do these stupid things. Sometimes horrible things happen to you. It is not the police's fault that they kicked in the door doing a drug raid on 4 different places where your name was all over it. They had pictures of you. You were definitely involved. And then, unfortunately, your boyfriend thought it was your ex-boyfriend and shot through the door trying to kill him because he thought they were robbing him, is what actually happened.
This finds key miscalculations, including using months-old information, led Louisville police to include Breonna Taylor in a high-risk operation targeting drug houses.
So right here, they're trying to say it was old information that they had. In jail, after her death, that day, After her death that day, Jamarcus told his business partner, his drug dealing business partner, that he spoke to Breonna that day, that she had the money for them that day. Now, did the police have this information? Not at the time, they did not. But they were right. They were right. Their systems worked. Breonna Taylor was still running money for this drug ring, but we're trying to play make-believe that they didn't have, that this was not going on.
Some facts are in dispute. These are not. Police raided Taylor's apartment under the suspicion she was involved with handling money and drugs for an alleged Louisville drug dealer, her ex-boyfriend, Jamarcus Glover.
While it was her ex-boyfriend, I think it's very important for people to realize that, yes, it was her ex-boyfriend, but at the same time, it was also someone that she was still telling that she loved. It wasn't a long time prior. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this a little bit more.
When it was all over, police found no drugs, no money in her apartment.
Okay, now the reason they found no drugs and no money, according to the people that were in jail with Kenny Walker, including Kenny Walker and all the drug dealers, the reason they didn't find it, according to Kenneth Walker, was that when they shot her, they immediately stopped the search and first went to make sure that she was all right and had the homicides groups in there. And so they never followed up to try to go searching. If it wasn't in plain sight, they did not search for it after that point. That was according to Kenny Walker. You can read it in the police report. He even said when they asked him, why didn't they find the money? He said, because they stopped looking. He said the money was there. She had the money.
Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency room technician.
She's not a 26-year-old emergency room technician. She was 4 years before this. 4 years before she lost her job. 4 years ago. I'm not a car dealer because 3 years ago I decided to try to sell cars for 3 months. That doesn't make me if somebody says, hey, he's a car salesman. No, I'm not. I did that for a month or two 4 years ago. That's not how that works. They're doing that to gain empathy for her in that she's got to be this good person. She's just an EMT. Well, just so everybody here knows, EMTs can be drug dealers too. Case in point.
Who worked 2 jobs, who had never been convicted of a crime, was dead, shot 5 times by police.
Correct. She got shot 5 times by police because her boyfriend shot through the door and the police shot back. And when you don't know how many times somebody's shooting at you, when you shoot, it echoes. And so this is not a fine science. You don't just shoot one time if somebody shoots at you. That would be stupid. So this whole showing right here is just bullcrap. Yes, she was never convicted of a crime. Correct. She wasn't ever convicted. But she was certainly all around it. And according to the drug dealers that were in jail talking, she was certainly part of their organization. No questions, unarguably.
911 operator Harris, where is your emergency?
I don't know what happened. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend.
To understand how this tragedy unfolded.
Okay, they put that in there, and that's sad. I mean, it's sad. I bet she felt terrible. But notice in there what he didn't say. He didn't say that he shot through the door at the cops. He didn't say that. Now, he didn't say that because he was calling a 911 call, and that wasn't what he was calling for. He was certainly not going to incriminate himself, okay, at that point in time. So I have no problem with what he said. But let's be real about what actually occurred. That is what actually occurred. He shot at them. The whole house is dark. This is at, I think, 2 a.m. So this is not at 8 o'clock at night where they can see him. When they kicked in the door, it wasn't like all the lights were on. They weren't. They had been in bed.
Folded that night, you have to come here to the door where it began, just before 1 a.m., March 13th. Officers for the Louisville Police Department arrive with a no-knock warrant, but say they did knock anyway. Sergeant?
It's not that they said that they did knock. Yes, they said they knocked. I mean, it's not that they said they knocked. They said they knocked. Kenny Walker said they knocked. There's other people that heard that said that he knocked. Everyone said that they knocked. So the no-knock warrant is completely irrelevant in this case.
John Mattingly, recorded in this police interview, admits he had limited information.
They said she was probably there alone. So we predetermined to give her plenty of time to come to the door. Banged on the door, no response. Banged on it again, no response. At that point, we started announcing ourselves, please come to the door. Please, we have a search warrant.
Inside, Breonna Taylor.
Okay, so I don't know. I'm not going to say that the police are telling the truth either here because I'm not a puppet. So I will say that we don't know. Okay, currently we do not know whether or not that guy is being honest or not. We do know that he banged on the door because everyone said that that's true. He says they said they're at the police. She said that he said that Kenneth Walker said that they didn't say that. Now, I would tend to believe that they may have said it. I don't know if they said it loud enough. I don't know if Kenny heard it. The way that I understand it is you have a door, you have a long hallway, you have a room. Out of the room, Kenneth Walker and Breonna Taylor get up out of bed as they're beating on the door. Kenneth Walker believes at that time that it is Jamarcus. So does, and I would be willing to bet, so does Breonna Taylor, which is why she's coming to the door thinking she's going to help the situation. As she's halfway there, they're beating on the door. They end up breaching the door. As they're breaching the door, Kenneth Walker reaches over and shoots. Bang. Then cups back behind the doorway into the bedroom. The police man gets shot in the leg. He shoots back. Bang, 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 bang. Another police officer goes around the side of the building, shoots in a different angle, doesn't hit anybody, and he shouldn't have done that, and that guy should be penalized and fired and prosecuted. That's fine. But the guy who got shot in the leg shoots, lays down fire. That's called suppression fire. He wants to make sure he doesn't get shot again, wants to make sure he's okay. So, we need to get this information out here correctly.
She wasn't alone. She had just dozed. And
the police aren't going to know if you're alone or not alone, they're trying to do the best they can without being, they're not going to know all the information. So the fact that he thought that they were alone doesn't mean that the police are horrible because they were wrong.
Off next to her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. Walker telling police the knocking, banging at the door scared them, thinking it could be Taylor's ex-boyfriend breaking in.
Oh, I said that how long ago? Now they're finally getting on board that is the case, that's what they thought, which is what I said the whole time. But go ahead.
She's like, who is it? Loud at the top of her lungs. No response. So I'm like, what the heck? So then I grab my gun, which is legal. Like, I'm licensed to carry everything. I've never even fired my gun outside of a range. I'm scared to death.
Walker says he never heard anyone say police. Neither did multiple neighbors who spoke with CNN, including a neighbor whose door is just inches away. What they heard was shouting, banging, gunshots.
The only thing I have about this is, what do you mean shouting, banging? What were they shouting? Shouting, banging. What were they shouting? If they weren't saying they were the police, what were they saying? It didn't really make sense right there.
The door comes off the hinges. So I just let off one shot. Then all of a sudden there's a whole lot of shots. There's just shooting, and we're both on the ground, and then when all the shots stop, I'm panicking. She's right there on the ground, bleeding.
Walker.
Yes, that is the sad tragedy. If you shoot, and I get it. He thought it was a robber. I get that. He shot. He certainly took cover because he got hit 0 times. Okay, so he shot, and I get why he shot. As a First Amendment guy, he did the right thing. It just sucks. It sucks because his girlfriend was doing things that she shouldn't have been doing, and it put the whole situation in a bad spot. And that part of it's really sad. It is. He didn't do anything wrong. He shot through the door thinking somebody was robbing him, and then they shot back. Well, That's from his standpoint. So if I'm in his standpoint, I totally get where he's coming from. If I'm Breonna Taylor's standpoint, I'm not sure why she was coming to the door at that point. If she thought it was, I think because she thought it was her ex-boyfriend, she was going to try to talk him down. So it's just a plethora of just bad luck. The cops, let's look at that from their standpoint, From their standpoint, they're like, okay, this is a house. It's got a drug dealer in it. The last one we went to, it had a couple drug dealers. It had guns. It had, drugs and money. And so now we go to this house, right? The next search warrants. This one was the same time as another one, but there had been prior ones that found that. So they kick in the door, or they actually use like a bull ram thing where you ram it in through the door. And as they do that, after getting all of a sudden bang, so then they start shooting. And again, I've told people this before. Once you start shooting as the police, it's going to be tough, especially down a hallway, because you're going to think people are shooting back at you. It's just really unfortunate.
Walker said he purposely aimed his gun towards the ground. Sergeant John Mattingly was struck in the leg.
Panicking, she's right there on the ground, like bleeding.
Walker said he purposely aimed his gun towards the ground. Sergeant John Mattingly was struck in the leg and was one of 3 officers who returned fire.
As soon as a shot hit, I could feel the heat in my leg. And so I just returned fire. I got 4 rounds off. And it was like simultaneous. It's boom, 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 boom.
Mattingly is on administrative reassignment, along with a second officer who fired shots that night, Miles Cosgrove. The third police officer to fire his weapon, Detective Brett Hankinson, was standing outside and fired 10 rounds through a closed and curtained patio door. He has been fired, is appealing, but according to Louisville's police chief, his blind shooting displayed an extreme indifference.
Okay, so before we go into this, we agree here. I believe Hankinson should not only be fired. I think he's only being fired because he's a police officer. What if I shot blindly into a house? He didn't kill. He didn't care who he killed. He definitely didn't care about human life. You want to hold somebody accountable? Hankinson is the guy to hold accountable. This is the guy right here, right here. This is the dude that should be held accountable. This is totally unacceptable, completely unacceptable. This dude right here should be in jail. He should be. He clearly should never be a police officer. He didn't hit anybody with his shots, but extremely, just because I shoot a gun off, if I shoot into the house next door to me, just because I don't shoot anybody doesn't mean that I don't go to jail. This guy should be in jail.
To the value of human life, which his lawyers deny.
I was asleep and I woke up to gunshots, and it scared me as soon as I woke up and they were just going off.
The gunshots.
I find that interesting that a neighbor then says she woke up to gunshots. So she heard the gunshots. She did not hear the beating of the door. So I just hope that's not the same lady that says that they didn't. Probably not. But I'd like to know the vicinity, because trying to get some information on whether or not they did or didn't say, whether they announced themselves or not. It's a warrant. So I don't know what the rules are about that. I'm not sure it would have been a whole lot of different, even if they said it was the police. I still think Breonna Taylor would have came to the door. I still think, I don't think Kenneth would have shot through the door. So that's, an important part of the story there for sure.
Whizzed through walls, windows, bullet holes were found everywhere, in the kitchen, bedrooms, in a neighbor's apartment with small children nearby. Multiple neighbors called 911 asking for police, only finding out later it was the police. One of the neighbors recorded this video of Taylor's boyfriend being arrested while pleading with police to help his girlfriend bleeding inside. All charges. Okay, now on that front, they immediately helped her. So the fact that he was getting arrested, that's a pretty standard operating procedure. You think if the police come in my house and I shoot them and we find out it's a mistake, a misunderstanding, that they're not going to immediately arrest me initially and then figure it out. That's exactly what happened. It was handled the right way. He was released pretty quickly. So I'm not sure what they, did you expect him to shoot through, hit cops, and then be like, oh, well, I'm a walk free? I wouldn't.
I would assume eventually I would get out because I do have rights, but I don't think they would just let me shoot police officers, have the police officers wheeled out of here and the paramedics, and then I would just be able to carry on about my business.
Just against the boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, would be dropped.
You can tell it was brutal.
Breonna Taylor's sister, Janiyah, who police apparently did not know also lived in the apartment, was out of town that night, returning to find her bedroom covered in bullets and a pool of her sister's blood.
When we had to clean up, if I could show you what it looked like in there, you would be like, wow, that is very horrific.
Attorneys for Breonna Taylor's family say the police mistakes began well before they knocked down her door.
Sloppy intelligence.
It actually wasn't sloppy intelligence. The intelligence was spot on. I mean, according to the police records or the recordings of the gang guys in jail, they were exactly right. She was holding the money for the drugs. She was helping the shipments go through. They were transferring from house to house. She was the money man. So it wasn't, it wasn't shoddy police work. I had thought maybe it was initially, but the more research I've done, the cops were spot on here. They were correct.
Getting a no-knock warrant when it was not necessary to have an.
It didn't matter whether they had a no-knock warrant. They knocked. So the no-knock warrant made no difference here, because even if they would have got a standard warrant, they would have still busted in the house. They would have done exactly what they did because they didn't adhere to the no-knock warrant. So they would have knocked this just like they did. The whole thing would have been the exact same. The no-knock warrant played zero part in her death.
No-knock warrant.
Police got 5 warrants approved. 4 were for suspected drug dealers and suspected drug houses. Lumped into that with similar language was the warrant for Breonna Taylor's apartment.
Correct. I know they're trying to make it seem like, oh, they got 4 drug houses. Then what's this one house? That's the money house. Everyone knew it. That she was the one that handled the money. Now, most of the money was hidden, according to Kenneth Walker, according to Jamarcus Glover. The money was hidden, but she still had the money. She still has the money right now. It's in one of her accounts. She's got the money. That's according to Jamarcus Glover in jail, speaking to his drug dealer buddies. She's got the money. So, and he's not trying to throw her under the bus. That's just the truth.
According to a source, police told the judge Taylor was Jamarcus Glover's current girlfriend.
And here we go. This is the part that people keep wanting to call people an ex-girlfriend or a girlfriend. It doesn't matter. He had Jamarcus Glover and Breonna Taylor were in love. They said, I love you. Probably that day that she died, she was telling that man that she loved him. They were having a sexual relationship. They were having a relationship with this drug situation. She was still 100% involved. There was no where she ended it at all. Now, she may have been trying to pull away based on some of the conversations that she had in jail with him. It felt like in reading them that she had wanted to get away, but she couldn't because she just really didn't want to. It's kind of like anybody that doesn't leave someone they shouldn't be with. It's like they held on for whatever reason. But 100% she was involved. She just wasn't a drug dealer in terms of she wasn't one of the runners. She wasn't a doughboy. She was almost like a doughboy for the upper echelon. Okay, she was running around collecting money from this organization and that organization and to do this and that, not from actual people that were buying the drugs. She's not one of the street hands.
Warrants suggest Glover was having drugs delivered to Taylor's apartment by mail to be shuttled to the crack houses. Her family says the information police had on Taylor was outdated or incorrect.
Of course, your family doesn't want to accept the fact, especially when you died publicly, that you were a drug dealer. She was a drug dealer. She was. Not because she's black. She's just a drug dealer. because she decided to get into that life. And really, I think it all probably started with her liking a boy. I don't think she was running around dealing drugs, like sliding them to people. Okay. But he asked her, hey, can you do this, this, and this for me? And she was like more than happy to do it because she wanted some of that lifestyle. Sad but true.
He hadn't dated Glover in months.
Hadn't dated Glover in months. He says he talked to her the day before. They're saying, I love you. She's bailing him out of jail 2 months before this. After 5, 6, 7 years of dating, because you got to remember, they were in 2016. She was the one that got him. She was involved in that. So it's 2016 was 4 years ago. She's 23. That would put her at 19. So that wasn't the first day they got together. So let's say they were together a year at that point. That would have been 15. That would have been 5 years. So you're telling me 5 years in a relationship, he says he wants to sleep with you and you laugh about it and tell him how much you love him in February and you die in March. You're trying to tell me this relationship was over? Like, come on. He even says that she's trying to get out of the relationship, but she can't because you can't play the player. Okay? That's just the reality.
Package police say they saw Glover picking up at Taylor's apartment. It was likely a pair of shoes, according to the family attorney.
Yep. According to the family, I think it's going to say the family attorney, which makes sense because attorneys lie. So if you don't know that, I don't know how to help.
Despite what officers were told before the raid, Breonna Taylor certainly did not live alone. The family lawsuit against police summed it up as the incredibly stale nature of this intelligence.
We just want the truth to come out. And
the truth has came out, and it hasn't looked good for Breonna Taylor. I mean, that's just sad but true.
And, we don't want to rush anything, and we know it's complicated.
Circuit Court Judge Mary Shaw, who signed the warrants, tells CNN in a statement she spent more than 30 minutes considering the warrant application and subsequently made the probable cause determination required of me by law.
Okay, so I do have a problem with Judge Mary Shaw. 30 minutes, it's not long enough to spend on a warrant. I really don't believe. I think that's part of the problem with our society is that we're too quick to sign off on warrants where you can come into. See, I see the issue is the fact that they even came into her house. I don't think they should have been allowed to come into her house. I think that there's ways that they could have catch the packages coming to and out. They could have caught her as she was leaving the house the next morning. I know they wanted to do the late night raid, so they were nervous that people would call and contact her, and then she would be able to flush things that she had or get rid of the stash that she had. But it would be hard to do without leaving your home. But there's definitely some nuance to that as well.
Breonna Taylor's death was a tragedy, the judge told CNN. Her death will stay with me forever. Taylor's family wants more than sympathy and understanding. They want police officers charged with murder. I'm sure your attorneys have told you that is hard to do in the United States.
And we don't expect it to be easy.
Why do they want that? It makes no sense. The police officers, it was more that judge's fault than the police officers. Yes, I already said the one police officer, fine. The two that were standing there when they got shot at, if these two beautiful young women right here, these two right here, if they were police officers and someone had shot at them, I would tell them to shoot back. That's just common sense. Like, this is sad because this is someone they love in their family and they want this person to be innocent. And they want this person to be just a complete victim. They're not. It's a tragedy, but she's a victim because she got shot and it was a poor situation. But she is not just some EMT who was grinding hard at work and some police kicked in her door and killed her. Like, it makes no sense. And it's sad because they want this coming from their heart, not from logic, not from facts, not from evidence.
We don't expect the truth to be easy to no one because it's not easy to us. But we know the truth, and we're willing. We're going to fight this to the end. You know what I mean? So, she's just a Breonna Taylor to y'all, but this is our family to us. This is our baby, and she's
right. And that's the problem here. is that people have a really hard time looking at things. And, you know, you have some people that are way too cold and callous when it's not their loved ones. And then you can't take their advice. And then you also can't take advice of the family. I can't believe she would never do this. I mean, sorry, but you're just too close that you can't see that your sister was a drug dealer. I mean, it sucks. She didn't deserve to die. Okay, she didn't deserve to die. And that's why it still can be a tragedy, even though she's not an innocent victim.
Going to get the justice she deserves.
Unfortunately, she can't get the justice she deserves. She deserves to be in jail. She doesn't deserve to be dead. And you don't get to pick that now because Kenneth Walker shot through a door at police officers. I mean, the judge, sure, they should not have probably even allowed them to have a warrant. Stop saying a no-knock warrant. They didn't use the no-knock warrant. Okay? Maybe they shouldn't have been able to get a warrant. That is a valid question. The police officer who shot through the sidewall, that guy should be held accountable. The two police officers doing their job, who did exactly what anyone else would do, are victims too. They're innocent victims as well.
Wolf, just one of the officers involved, responded to CNN. Sergeant John Mattingly, through his attorney, says he was just following orders, not involved in the planning, and at all times followed established police procedures.
Right. Mr. Mattingly did things the right way. I have no problem with what he did. He's exactly right. They're trying to, and me and Glennon have talked about this on our show, The Contradictions, or Contradictions of the Other Side, about how you can't hold the police officer who's thinking he's going in to talk to drug dealers. He's just told to do. He's just doing what he's told. He didn't go in there and execute her. If that was the case, wouldn't he have executed Kenneth Walker? Like if it was an execution, it wasn't. It was an accident. Someone shot. They shot back. Mattingly shot 5 times. Completely appropriate when you get shot. When you hear a shot come down range at you to shoot 5 times. Completely okay. He followed procedure. This guy should be, they should be able to bring him together with Breonna Taylor's family. These are both people that have now, he's lost his life, not the same way Breonna did. Breonna Taylor's situation is worse, but they're both victims. And it's just sad, man. It really is.
Louisville remains on edge, waiting to find out if any of these police officers will be charged with Breonna Taylor's death.
Unfortunately, none of them should be. And we'll go ahead and close this. My lunch break's over now. But at the end of the day, just so you know, her family ended up getting an undisclosed amount, millions. It's not going to bring their daughter back. And begging for these cops to be held accountable for things that they didn't do wrong is not the right answer. And we've got to do better as a country. Of course, people shouldn't. The guy shooting in the side of the man, dude, hang that dude out to dry. Thank God he didn't shoot and kill Kenneth Walker. Thank God he didn't shoot and kill Breonna Taylor. Because if he did, he should be in jail. But the 2 guys that shot from the front door in a place where they got shot at, we just have to start being honest with ourselves and just say that this is a tragedy and that we shouldn't be putting ourselves in these situations. And if you want to hold the judge accountable for the warrant, sure. You want to hold a cop accountable. There was things definitely done wrong here that we should be able to say without saying, I support this side or I support this side. Support the truth. And that's the 100% truth. Come to you from King Truth and the King Truth Show. Thanks so much. All y'all, have a wonderful day. I love you. Share and subscribe.